And we're live. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Coffee and Miracles. These are the daily lessons of A Course in Miracles. So this year I am going live every day to share with you the lessons from the workbook of A Course in Miracles. I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you too are either miracle curious or maybe you are going through the lessons yourself. So today we're on lesson 7. Now, yesterday was lesson 6, practicing the mantra of I am upset because I see something that is not there. My first time I went through these lessons, I kept thinking, what does this mean? When I say I am upset because I see something that is not there, what is it I am seeing? When I say I am never upset for the reason I think, and the early lessons of, nothing I see means anything. Why is this? I kept wondering as I was going through these workbook lessons. In lesson 7, we come to our first psychological or spiritual aha, the realization of why it is that our thoughts are meaningless. And that is because today's lesson is I see only the past. The mantra is I see only the past. Now, remember the other day I was talking about the difference between like a positive affirmation and a mantra. A positive affirmation might be I'm present right here and right now, affirming something often that we are not experiencing. Whereas a mantra is an idea for us to consider. No one's saying you have to believe this. In fact, you may not, but we're saying take this idea, practice it throughout your day, and see what kind of shifts you have and what kind of experience you have. So I'm going to read to you guys today from lesson 7, and then we will talk a little bit more about this lesson in particular. Lesson 7, I see only the past. This idea is particularly difficult to believe at first, yet it is the rationale for all the preceding ones. It is the reason why nothing that you see means anything. It is the reason why you have given everything you see all the meaning that it has for you. It is the reason why you do not understand anything you see. It is the reason why your thoughts do not mean anything and why they are like the things you see. It is the reason why you are never upset for the reason you think. It is the reason why you are upset because you see something that is not there. Old ideas about time are very difficult to change because everything you believe is rooted in time and depends on your not learning these new ideas about it. Yet that is precisely why you need ideas about time. The first time idea is not really so strange as it may sound at first. Look at a cup, for example. Do you see a cup, or are you merely reviewing your past experiences of picking up a cup, being thirsty, drinking from a cup, feeling the rim of a cup up against your lips, having breakfast, and so on? Are not your aesthetic reactions to the cup too based on past experiences? How else would you know whether or not this kind of cup will break if you drop it? What do you know about this cup except that you learned in the past? You would have no idea what this cup is except for your past learning. Do you then really see it? Look about you. This is equally true of whatever you look at. Acknowledge this by applying the idea for today indiscriminately to whatever catches your eye. For example, I see only the past in this pencil. I see only past in this shoe. I see only past in this hand. I see only the past in that body. I see only the past in that face. Do not linger over anything, any one thing in particular, but remember to omit nothing specifically. Glance briefly at each subject and then move on to the next. 3 or 4 practice periods, each to last a minute or 2, will be enough. Now, remember, little pitch for the ACIM reminder app. If you're not using that, that will help you make sure you're doing the mantra those 3 or 4 times a day because it has reminders you can preset. Excuse me. So let's dive into this lesson a little bit more. So when I first started going through A Course in Miracles, and in particular the workbook, I was working through, excuse me, a lot of unhealed trauma. I'd been through a really rough experience, several rough experiences, and I just could not be in the present moment. I couldn't interact with people. I couldn't interact with myself without being triggered and having upsets and just being stuck in this traumatic thing that I had went through. This lesson was one of the first lessons to just really like blow my mind because of this constant practice that day of I see only the past. And so every time that day I was getting upset with people or situations or things, going back to that mantra, I see only the past in this blank. What's really fascinating about this, like this is so true for the things that we see. There's a story in the book The Untethered Soul, um, about a guy. Him and his girlfriend have broken up. I'm gonna paraphrase this because I don't remember the story exactly, but you'll get the idea from what I'm about to share. Um, and it tells a story about this guy. He's broken up with his girlfriend, and his girlfriend's dating this new guy, and this new guy drives a blue Mustang. And so it tells a story that everywhere this guy goes, every time he sees this blue Mustang, he gets triggered emotionally because when he sees the blue Mustang, he thinks about the guy that's driving it is with his ex-girlfriend, the woman he loves, and it triggers all this stuff from the breakup over and over again. And eventually, as the story goes on, you find that it's not even just a blue Mustang; it's any Mustang then starts to trigger that for him. It's any blue vehicle begins to trigger that for him, and then eventually, I think it's like any man with a sports car. It's triggering his breakup feelings. So when he sees a blue Mustang, which has absolutely nothing to do with his grief, when he sees that, he is triggered and he sees only the past. And it's so easy as you go through your life today to recognize the places where you are seeing only the past. I have a collection of coffee cups. One of the coffee cups in particular was my mother's. So every time I look at that coffee cup, I think of my mom. I have a Wonder Woman coffee cup that my brother gave me. Every time I pick it up, I think of him. If I'm doing this with coffee cups, right? If I'm doing that with coffee cups, I'm doing that with everything. You're going to be amazed today as you practice this mantra 3 or 4 times of I see only the past in this blank. You're going to be amazed at the end of the day how much the mind really is obsessed with the past. And one of the things that the Course says in the textbook is that the present moment is the only place where you can meet God. So that's the metaphysical meaning of the cross. Is the cross is one line going up like this, another line like this. This middle line is the present moment, and that's the only place where we can meet God, because God is not in the past, God is not in the future, and neither are we. We're only right here, right now, in the present moment. So as long as we're seeing only the past, we are missing out on being in the present moment, the place where we can connect with God, where we can connect with each other, where we can connect with ourselves, the place where we actually have the power to receive a miracle and to make a change in our life. So enjoy this mantra today, this exercise. I foresee it being very healing for you. And we'll be back tomorrow for lesson 8. And remember, head over to loveisgreaterthanfear.org if you want to learn more about our spiritual center. And then also, if you go to acim.org, you can read the Course in Miracles for free. It's got the workbook, lessons, the text, everything on there. They got a bunch of free resources over there. So if you are miracle curious, definitely check that out. And I will see you again tomorrow.